Yes. Hello, good morning, everybody. How are you? I hope you're doing great. Today, we're basically going to talk a little bit, or I'm going to, before you finish up your mini lesson about the questions I gave you and you present those mini lessons to the class, I'm going to give you a little bit more of a background about the reading that we are dealing with, which is about, it's a persuasive essay, okay? And as a persuasive essay is a piece of writing that is trying to convince us about something. Okay, it's trying to make us see something from the point of view or the perspective of the reader. Okay, this type of writings are different than other writings that we have seen throughout the school year. Why? Because basically, we are talking about, like, for example, when we are reading a novel or when we're reading a short story, okay, or when we are reading an essay, but this essay is just based on facts or on things that happen, okay. In this case, there's a difference. If it is a short story, most likely that short story, even if it's based on real facts, it has suffered or has gone through some changes, modifications, you know, in order to adapt it to a literary genre. In this case, we're talking about a short story. Okay. If it's a poem, it's the same thing. Okay. In a poem, eh, basically, we just saw a couple of points. And basically, what you're doing is you are expressing your feelings about something. Okay. But you're not necessarily pointing out anything or any facts that or any points or anything that you want to transmit or to convey or to get across to the readers to convince them about something, which is different. That's why we call it a persuasive essay. Okay, so an essay, first of all, definitely it has to do with a piece of writing that is based on facts 100%. There's nothing fictional about an essay. Okay, and a persuasive essay in this like in this case, it has to do with things that really happened, and in this case, there's a certain point of view that the writer is trying to convey to us, and he wants to convince us about it. In order to do so, the writer is going to use certain techniques like citing certain evidence, okay, so that we will see it as something that is not his opinion, is not based on his opinion, is not something subjective, but something objective, something that is a fact. Very, very important to remember that. Now, let's go ahead and let me go ahead and share screen so that we can, first of all, listen to the story, okay? Maybe some of you already listened to it, but we can do it again in order to remember, okay? Let me go ahead and share that. I'm going to share screens here, okay? I'm going to go ahead and include the computer sound, and I'm going to go ahead and include the desktop here, okay? All right, perfect. Now, let me go ahead. Okay, once we do this, okay, now I suppose you can look at this right now. Alrighty, so we go into, I'm gonna open the story right here. Oh my goodness, let me see. Okay, here you go. Okay, so the story basically is this is the story. The real reason why we explore space. This is the name of the story that we are going to read. Okay, that we are reading. All right, and here it is. Now this is the okay. I'm gonna show you this one, which is actually the um, your version, the student's version. Okay. Now let me go ahead and let it load. Okay. Luckily, since this is a pre-recorded class, at this time, there will not be so many people using the internet and it will work faster. Let's hope so. Okay, hold on a second, please. Alrighty, here we go, here we go, here we go, here we go. Okay, perfect. So, so what I'm gonna do is I'm going to, yes, okay, there we go. He was like sort of thinking again, loading again. Now we're gonna make it a little bigger. You have this in your books, by the way, okay? I'm just sharing screens with you, so that we will all be on the same page. But if something happens, the power went out, goes off on my end, or I have to cut off communications because of X or Y reason, or the same thing happens on your end, we're supposed to always find a way to continue to move on with the class. Alrighty. So here we have a background about the writer. Background, Michael Griffith served as the administrator of the National Aeronautics and Space Administrator, NASA, from 2005 to 2009. President Eisenhower founded NASA in 1958, soon after the Soviet Union launched the first artificial satellite. NASA has sent Americans into space, created the Space Shuttle as a reusable spacecraft, worked on the International Space Station, and landed rovers to learn about the condition on Mars. NASA works to learn more about space, find ways to get to and explore space, and determine how our knowledge of space affects us on Earth. Very interesting. Now, the real reason we explore space makes us kind of wonder, eh? Oh, we, mankind, we have tried and keep on trying to explore space. And sometimes you wonder, why would we want to do that? Don't we have enough to explore here on Earth? Why would we as a species try to explore space? Well, there are so many different things that people can say about that. But the real reason, well, let's see what kind of argument Mr. Michael Griffith gives us to do that. And here, as you read, it says, notice which reasons Griffith examines before he outlines the real reason he thinks we explore space. Write down any questions you generate during reading. And then I'm going to play the recording so you can listen to a voice narrating this argument, this essay. Listen carefully, please.
The Real Reasons We Explore Space. Argument by Michael Griffin. The Real Reasons We Explore Space. Argument by Michael Griffin. I am convinced that if NASA were to disappear tomorrow, if we never put up another Hubble Space Telescope, never put another human being in space, people in this country would be profoundly distraught. Americans would feel that we had lost something that matters, that our best days were behind us, and they would feel themselves somehow diminished. Yet I think most would be unable to say why. There are many good reasons to continue to explore space, which most Americans have undoubtedly heard. Some have been debated in public policy circles and evaluated on the basis of financial investment. But these are not reasons that would make Americans miss our space program. They are merely the reasons we are most comfortable discussing. I think of them as acceptable reasons, because they can be logically defended. When we contemplate committing large sums of money to a project, we tend to dismiss reasons that are emotional or value-driven, or can't be captured on a spreadsheet. But in space exploration, those are the reasons, what I think of as real reasons, that are the most important. When Charles Lindbergh was asked why he crossed the Atlantic, he never once answered that he wanted to win the $25,000 that New York City hotel owner Raymond Ortigue offered for the first non-stop aircraft flight between New York and Paris. Burt Rutan and his backer, Paul Allen, certainly didn't develop a private spacecraft to win the Ansari X Prize for the $10 million in prize money. They spent twice as much as they made. Sergei Korolev and the team that launched Sputnik were not tasked by their government to be the first to launch an artificial satellite. They had to fight for the honor and the resources to do it. I think we all know why people strive to accomplish such things. They do so for reasons that are intuitive and compelling to all of us, but that are not necessarily logical. They're exactly the opposite of acceptable reasons, which are eminently logical, but neither intuitive nor emotionally compelling. First, most of us want to be, both as individuals and as societies, the first or the best in some activity. We want to stand out. This behavior is rooted in our genes. We are today the descendants of people who survived by outperforming others. Without question, that drive can be carried to an unhealthy extreme. We've all seen more wars than we like. But just because the trait can be taken too far, doesn't mean that we can do without it completely. A second reason is curiosity. Who among us has not had the urge to know what's over the next hill? What child has not been drawn to explore beyond the familiar streets of the neighborhood? Finally, we humans have, since the earliest civilizations, built monuments. We want to leave something behind to show the next generation, or the generations after that, what we did with our time here. This is the impulse behind cathedrals and pyramids, art galleries and museums. Cathedral builders would understand what I mean by real reasons. The monuments they erected to the awe and mystery of their god required a far greater percentage of their gross domestic product than we will ever put into the space business. But we look back across 600 or 800 years of time, and we are still awed by what the builders accomplished. Those buildings, therefore, also stand as monuments to the builders. The return the cathedral builders made on their investment could not have been summarized in a cost-benefit analysis. They began to develop civil engineering, the core discipline for any society if it wishes to have anything more than thatched huts. They gained societal advantages that were probably even more important than learning how to build walls and roofs. For example, they learned to embrace deferred gratification, not just on an individual level, where it is a crucial element of maturity, but on a societal level, where it is equally vital. The people who started the cathedrals didn't live to finish them. The society as a whole had to be dedicated to the completion of those projects. We owe Western civilization as we know it today to that kind of thinking, the ability to have a constancy of purpose across years and decades. It is my contention that the products of our space program are today's cathedrals. The space program satisfies the desire to compete, but in a safe and productive manner, rather than in a harmful one. It speaks abundantly to our sense of human curiosity, of wonder and awe at the unknown. Who can watch people assembling the greatest engineering project in the history of mankind, the International Space Station, and not wonder at the ability of people to conceive and to execute the project? And it also addresses our need for leaving something for future generations. Of course, the space program also addresses the acceptable reasons, and in the end, this is imperative. Societies will not succeed in the long run if they place their resources and their efforts in enterprises that, for whatever reason, don't provide concrete value. But I believe that projects done for the real reasons that motivate humans also serve the acceptable reasons. In that sense, the value of space exploration really is in its spin-offs, as many have argued. But it's not in spin-offs like Teflon and Tang and Velcro, as the public is so often told, and which, in fact, did not come from the space program. And it's not in spin-offs in the form of better heart monitors or cheaper prices for liquid oxygen for hospitals. Although the space program's huge demand for liquid oxygen spurred fundamental improvements in the production and handling of this volatile substance. The real spin-offs are, just as they were for cathedral builders, more fundamental. Anyone who wants to build spacecraft who wants to be a subcontractor, or who even wants to supply bolts and screws to the space industry, must work to a higher level of precision than human beings had to do before the space industry came along. And that standard has influenced our entire industrial base, and therefore our economy. As for national security, what is the value to the United States of being involved in enterprises which lift up human hearts everywhere? What is the value to the United States of being a leader in such efforts, in projects in which every technologically capable nation wants to take part? The greatest strategy for national security, more effective than having better guns and bombs than everyone else, is being a nation that does the kinds of things that make others want to do them with us. What do you have to do? How do you have to behave to do space projects? You have to value hard work. You have to live by excellence, or die from the lack of it. You have to understand and practice both leadership and followership. You have to build partnerships. Leaders need partners and allies, as well as followers. You have to accept the challenge of the unknown, knowing that you might fail, and to do so not without fear, but with mastery of fear, and a determination to go anyway. You have to defer gratification, because we work on things that not all of us will live to see, and we know it. We now believe that 95% of the universe consists of dark energy or dark matter, terms for things that we as yet know nothing about. Is it even conceivable that one day we won't learn to harness them? As cavemen learned to harness fire, as people 2 centuries ago learned to harness electricity, we will learn to harness these new things. It was just a few years ago that we confirmed the existence of dark matter, and we would not have done so without the space program. What is the value of knowledge like that? I cannot begin to guess. 1,000 years from now, there will be human beings who don't have to guess. They will know, and they will know we gave this to them.
Okay. Okay, guys. So, what do you think? You notice then that he is presented his argument, and with the argument, he's giving you reasons for it. Okay? You will notice that he talked about the different reasons why, we want to explore space. If you remember, one of the things that he repeats even at the end of it, with an example, he's saying, okay, we're gonna leave, or in other words, right? He's talking about like human beings. I cannot begin to guess. 1,000 years from now, there will be human beings who don't have to guess. They will know we gave this to them. So this is talking about what he said before, talking about recognition, okay? That need that we have as humans to have recognition, for people to say, hey, this guy did something good, okay? But we don't necessarily have to wait until we die. Still, like through this life, we want that recognition. We want people to say, hey, you're doing good. That's a good job. You're doing great. And he mentions that, and he says that's part of our genes, meaning that's part of our nature. That's part of what we are made of. So this is an argument in which he's saying, well, I mean, these are different reasons for the real reasons. Of course, remember, he mentioned money. He mentioned that there were, some rewards in between, maybe things that or amounts of money that were under the table, so to speak. Maybe nobody knew about this. Like, oh, okay, this guy was offered $10,000, and this was like an extra motivation for him to do that. You see? Because let's face it, money is a great motivator, definitely. I mean, I think it's the main motivation for most people. It is a great motivation for me. Now, let's see. There are the things here that we can look at, and I would just want you to look at it carefully, okay? Because this is an essay, and an essay is always going to tell you things that are going to try that are based on real facts. But in a persuasive essay, you're also going to go for those things that can convince the reader, you know, with by citing a specific examples of things that really happened, so that I can convince you as a reader that what I'm saying is the truth. You know, even if it's not necessarily so, I still want to convince you, and that's what matters. Okay. Now allow me to, let's say, okay, one second. Let me just go ahead. I'm going to stop. Okay, one second. I'm gonna stop. Oh, what happened here? Hello. Oh, it's not recording anymore. Oh, yes, it is recording. Sorry, I thought he had stopped recording for a moment. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing screens. Okay, I want you to look at your own reading there. Okay, your own book, and I'm gonna also look at certain things about the story, or about this piece of writing, that perhaps it would be a good idea to consider, to look at, and to remember. Okay. Now, okay, let me see something here. Allow me a moment to for a document to populate on my screen, so that I can. Okay, here we are. All right, guys. So one thing that is very important here, among so many other things that are important, okay, the background. Okay, always let's look at the background. The background. Now, first of all, where does this guy come from? Okay, what institution does he work for? Hmm? Well, you remember NASA, right? And remember, Americans have always been competing with Russians, with this, should I call it struggle? Competition. That's what it is. In order to say, well, I am the one who did it first. It wasn't you, it was me. Because Americans are very competitive, you know? They always want to, they want to be first in everything, even though we know that it's not possible to be first in everything, but they want to do it. Okay, they want to try. All right. So I wanted to show you something, well, actually to tell you about something, but I need to maybe refresh this page. Give me a moment here. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna refresh this page. One second. And then it's always important, when this thing freezes, and it happens a lot these days, we just have to wait, and what we do, because I cannot read what I'm trying to tell you. All right, give me a moment. Let's see what's, give me one moment. Here we go. Okay, went back to the students page. Just want to read something from here. Okay, I'm gonna put it back in the original position. Just bear with me one moment. I'm trying to fix something here that is to be fixed. We're going to fix it. It's gonna be fixed. Don't worry. Okay. All we need to do is to have a little patience, and it will be fixed. And that's precisely the reason why I preferred not to share screens at this particular moment, because sometimes it becomes a little bit embarrassing you know. Alrighty. Okay, so here we, okay, I need to make it bigger in order to read it. So I want to mention something about the background. Okay, and that's what I'm gonna do. All right, so let me go ahead and make it a little bigger here. Let me see if it works. If, let's say that, okay, now let's see here. Okay, then it is not working. So apparently, I mean, what I want to show you is, or what I wanted to tell you about is not quite working here. But basically, what I wanted to tell you was about the background, which I told you at the beginning. I just wanted to emphasize a little bit more on it. But something went wrong with the page, and apparently I can't. Okay, can't do it. So I'm not gonna. Oh, there you go. Wow, this was magic. All right, so yeah. Basically, I want to emphasize on Michael Griffith, who wrote this article for the Air and Space Smithsonian Magazine in July 2007. This information, you don't necessarily have it there. As NASA administrator, it was his job to further the U.S. vision for space exploration plan. Griffith has as PhD in aerospace engineering, as well as 5 master's degrees covering several fields of engineering as well as business administration. In addition to NASA, he has worked in academia and in several space-related businesses. So we're talking a very well prepared person. Okay. Now, when you argument has is the same is a synonym for persuasive essay. Is an argument. It's something that you want to express that is not necessarily true, but you want to express your opinion and you want to give evidence for it. Okay. Now, if you look at the lines 1 through 17, okay, and then you interpret Griffith's position on the issue of space exploration, okay, it says that he believes that NASA and space exploration are extremely important to the American people and their identity. Okay. Then he says, contemplate, meaning that Griffith says Americans think carefully about investing money in large projects such as space exploration. This is the meaning of contemplate. Okay. The meaning of contemplate is actually to think carefully about something. So when you say that I'm contemplating something, I mean that I'm thinking carefully about it. Okay. Now, think about something. Why logical reasons have been most important when Americans contemplate the future of space exploration? Well, people tend to think carefully about investing a large amount of money in a project like space exploration, and logical reasons seem to be the best justification for such decision. Okay, this is another argument there that we have to remember there that we have there in this particular part. Okay, now one another thing that is important to remember before we move on to the part of your mini lesson is the fact that we have, okay, hold on, I went to a different story now. There we go. At the end, he also, he says like the real reason we and why this text. Okay, give me 1 second here. I was moving my mouse too fast. Now he's playing tricks on me again. I can't believe he's doing this thing. Maybe I'm the one who is doing it, and you gotta be more careful. That's what it is. Okay. So I know I am in the story, but okay, there we go. I am back where I wanted to be. Okay, some words that we need to keep in mind here. Okay, intuitive. Intuitive is known or understood without reasoning or without real reasoning. Okay, instinctive. You are not reasoning it, but it's out of your instinct. Okay, that's very important. Some of I think it's one of the words that you're supposed to mention. Okay. Also, something that is mentioned there about spreadsheet. A spreadsheet is a computer program, often used in accounting that calculates data entered into its rows and columns. Okay. He also mentions two important characters here, or persons. They're not really characters, they're real persons. Charles Lindbergh, an American pilot who in 1927 became the first person to successfully fly alone across the Atlantic. This one. And then Sergei Korolev, Sputnik. Korolev, from 1907 to 1966, is a Russian, or was, sorry, a Russian engineer, designed the rocket that carried the first satellite Sputnik into space in 1957. And another word that we need to remember is gross domestic product, the monetary value of all the goods and services that a country produces during a certain time period. Okay. All right. And to wrap it up, another technique that is used in this persuasive writing is a rhetorical question. What is a rhetorical question? Well, basically, a rhetorical question is a question that you ask, or that you throw in the air, but you don't really expect an answer from it. Okay. So Griffith uses of rhetorical questions, or questions that do not require a reply, in this passage. Okay, he says, like, why Griffith uses rhetorical questions or as evidence to suggest that curiosity or universal experience. Are these questions valid for his approach in lines 30, from lines 30 through 49? Lines 42 to 43, who amongst us has not had the urge? And lines 43 to 44, what child has not been drawn, manipulate the reader's emotions? This is not the evidence. So he mentions a lot of questions there, but we know that he's not expecting an answer. He's just using this as a technique to also give more weight and more a validity to his persuasion. Okay. So this is what we mean by a rhetorical question. It's a question that we use it maybe in a conversation, or in writing, but we don't really expect an answer from it. Okay, we don't really expect an answer from it because maybe the answer is already, obvious. Okay, is already obvious. So just wanted to mention that there as one more aspect that is to be considered, and is also to be remembered when we are analyzing a piece of writing like this. Okay. Two other things, and this time, just to wrap it up, parallelism. Parallelism is the use of similar grammatical constructions to express ideas that are related or of equal importance. The repetition or repeated use of parallel structures creates emphasis and unity. Okay, parallelism, a similar grammatical structures used, okay, to express related ideas, and the repetition or repeated use of parallel structures creates emphasis and unity in a piece of writing like this one. Okay. All right, guys. So I'm going to wrap it up here because I don't want to, manipulate or take protagonism in the whole class. I simply wanted to go ahead and give you a little more information, okay, about this whole thing, about this piece of writing, so that you will be able to better analyze, the questions that I gave you, and then you will be able to present your mini lesson. Okay, that's what I'd like you to do next after the end of this recording. Thank you. Thank you for watching, and enjoy the rest of your class. Goodbye.